Hey everybody, it's Mitch, your logical libertarian here, and we're gonna go over excuse me, we're gonna go over something really important to me, which is the difference between conservatives and libertarians, primarily the difference between conservatism and the Republican Party in the U.S., and conservative political parties in the West, like in the UK and such, compared to libertarianism, the Libertarian Party in the U.S., and libertarian schools of thought in the West, um, like the UK and such. So there are similarities, of course, but there's a lot of differences, and a lot of people seem to kind of miss the differences, and it's really difficult, it seems, for people to grasp that. They seem to not understand how Republicans are compared to and conservatives, how they are compared to libertarians. Um, we'll go over a few. Fuck. We'll go over a few things here. So first off, let's go over just kind of the basic Wikipedias over what conservatism is. So conservatism is a political and social philosophy promoting traditional social institutions in the context of culture and civilization. The central tenets of conservatism include tradition, human imperfection, organic solidarity, hierarchy, authority, and property rights. Which makes sense. That's usually how it goes. Conservatives seek to preserve a range of institutions such as monarchy, parliamentary government, religion, and property rights, with the aim of emphasizing social stability and continuity. And the more extreme elements oppose modernism and seek to return to the way things were. That's very much how American conservatives are, and a lot of British and Australian and Canadian conservatives are too. Now let's go to libertarianism. Libertarianism is a collection of political philosophies and movements that uphold liberty as a core principle. Libertarians seek to maximize political freedom and autonomy, emphasizing freedom of choice, voluntary association, and individual judgment. Libertarians share a skepticism of authority and state power, but they diverge on the scope of their opposition to existing political and economic systems, which is true. Various schools of libertarian thought offer a range of views regarding the legitimate functions of state and private power, often calling for restriction or dissolution of coercive social institutions. Traditionally, it's considered more left wing. In the past, up until about the 20th century, it was a lot more anti capitalist and more, not quite socialist, but almost socialist. And then in the 20th century, it became more what they consider right wing libertarianism. It became more minarchist and capitalist, focusing on property rights as well as personal autonomy and individual freedoms. Now, both claim to want to limit government. The difference is that conservatives, um, which liberal conservatism is really what it's technically going to be currently, is about a free market, more free market, but um, a more monitored society for the purposes essentially of law and order. Most conservatives are in favor of things like law and order and strong military, where most libertarians agree with conservatives on the idea of, yeah, let's have a more limited government for the economy, but also agree that no, people are okay. We don't need to be told this and that. We're fine without the whole law and order thing. Um, that's kind of the major difference. So a conservative would typically be in favor of, say, a strong military, or perhaps a bit more beefed up police force. They're in favor of applying religious views or what they would deem to be moral regulations on people where maybe it's not necessary, where it doesn't cause an actual harm. So bans against being transgender, gay marriage, abortion, um, maybe enforcing certain religious views, banning the sale of alcohol on a Sunday, the sale of alcohol in general, the sale of certain drugs like marijuana, things where they think that people can't be trusted to make their own decision. Conservatives do agree with that. The difference is that we're maybe like progressives would think that people can't really be trusted with money or guns either. Conservatives don't agree with that. Libertarians would go a step further, and they would believe that or advocate that we don't necessarily need as many of those regulations on people, because those don't have a moral effect on anyone. They don't affect others, and those are choices that humans and citizens should be free to make, as long as they're an adult and a citizen. That's the main difference between conservatives and libertarians in the U.S. There's definitely a lot of party platforms where they differ. One being that Republicans are anti-gay marriage, where libertarians aren't necessarily. Now, I used to be a card-carrying libertarian, not so much anymore. But let's take a look at the Libertarian Party platform. As libertarians, we seek a world of liberty, a world in which all individuals are sovereign over their own lives and are not forced to sacrifice their values for the benefit of others. We believe that respect for individual rights is essential precondition for a free and prosperous world. That force and fraud must be banished from human relationships, and that only through freedom can peace and prosperity be realized. Consequently, we defend each person's right to engage in an activity that is peaceful and honest, and welcome the diversity that freedom brings. The world we seek to build is one where individuals are free to follow their own dreams in their own ways, without interference from government or any authoritarian power. In the following pages, we set forth, these are just some goals here. The members of the Libertarian Party challenge the cult of the omnipotent state and defend the rights of the individual. We hold that all individuals have the right to exercise sole dominion over their own lives and have the right to live in whatever manner they choose. So as you can see, it's very much, we're in favor. Accordingly, we support the prohibition of the initiation of physical force against others, the right to liberty of speech and action. Accordingly, we oppose all attempts by government to abridge the freedom of speech and press, as well as the government censorship in any form. The right to property. Accordingly, we oppose all government interference with property, such as confiscation, nationalization, and eminent domain, and support prohibition of robbery, trespass, fraud, and misrepresentation. So they support individual rights. Republicans. With this platform, we, the Republican Party, affirm the principles that unite us in common purpose. We believe in American exceptionalism. We believe the United States of America is unlike any other nation on earth. We believe America is exceptional because of our historic role. Again, the historic traditionalism. First as refuge, then as defender, and now exemplar of liberty. We affirm, as in the Declaration of Independence, that all are created equal, endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights. We believe the Constitution as our founding document. We believe the Constitution was written not as a flexible document, but as our enduring covenant, again, religious. We believe the constitutional system, limited government, separation of powers, federalism, and the rights of the people must be preserved and uncompromised. So they are similar to a certain point. We believe in political freedom and economic freedom. When political freedom and economic freedom are separated, they're in peril. We believe that people are the ultimate resource, and that people, not the government, are the best stewards of our country and their resources. As Americans who wish for peace, we insist on strength. We will make America safe. We seek friendship with all peoples and all nations, but recognize try to deal with the evil in the world. Again, it's a bit more combative, a bit more distrusting. Stronger, safer America. People want and expect an America that is the most powerful and respected country on earth. The military. Borders. Again, back on the religiosity. So, restoring the American dream. So they're fiscally similar to libertarians. These people believe that the American family's been attacked. Again, religiosity. The old way. Again, conservatives will promote things that try to help certain ways of doing things. And again, they're pretty open to the idea of law and order. But again, it's the concept of law and order. So those are the major differences. Again, they're pretty similar to a certain point. Both want to limit government in a way. But at the same time, the conservative school of thought is more about... Oh, you guys didn't get to see that, I guess. The conservative school of thought is more about controlling the government and controlling society, in a way, curving society to a specific ideal, how society should be, where the libertarian school of thought is more keeping the government away so people can make their own individual decisions. It's kind of, conservatives have an ideal they want to reach, which requires, a limited government in certain areas and a stronger government in other areas, where libertarians are more of everyone should have the right to their own destiny, to forge their own destiny. So that's really the major difference. Both typically are more egalitarian than progressives, so they share that as well. And oftentimes, libertarians will agree more with conservatives on a lot of things, especially when it comes to the opposition towards socialism and communism and social Marxism and a lot of the progressive social ideas that are coming down the pipe from people like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Elizabeth Warren. You know, if you're in Canada, Justin Trudeau. If you're in Germany, Angela Merkel. Whatever. Not so much Merkel, I guess, but these ideas of progressivism, of doing away with a bit more of a free market, raising taxes on the wealthy, while conservatives oftentimes lower taxes on the wealthy and offer extreme tax credits to people where they don't really pay as much taxes. Libertarians typically are more in favor of a more balanced tax system, either where it's a very narrow and very shallow progressive tax ladder, or people who are a bit more like me who believe in a flat tax across the board. You get that more with libertarians. Now, there are a lot of people who would classify as independent that agree kind of with all of them, but most of them would actually agree more with typically libertarians, because libertarians believe in the government shouldn't really fuck with people or tell people what to do. They should just offer a system for us to utilize whenever we've been wronged and provide us with, you know, whatever amount of social safety net that the population agrees to have. And that's where I kind of lie too. I'm someone who believes in kind of a soft minarchism, or a moderate minarchism, where it's more limited government, but there's still some social programs, obviously still law and order, still have police, still have fire, still have military, but reduce it significantly to what's necessary, and encourage volunteers, encourage people to, you know, join militias or volunteer fire departments, volunteer, you know, police departments, whatever, to fill that role. There are, you know, definitely should have social safety nets, but that's something that the population should determine what's necessary, because the population at large will understand more. Definitely support, though, assistance for stuff like that. But I do believe in a bit more of a free market where people have the right to choose if they want certain services, if they want to buy certain things, if they want to go into business for certain things. They need to have the right to succeed and the right to fail. People deserve the right to go broke, because without the right to go broke, you don't have the right to become rich. He says if you don't have the right to be stupid, you don't have the right to become as intelligent as you can be. So that's kind of where I lie there. I'm not the spokesman for libertarianism. There's various schools of thoughts, as you can see. Some are a bit more anarchist. I don't believe in anarchy as being very effective. I've tackled that before. And a lot of times, whenever you talk to a conservative or a progressive, both will say that they each are closer to anarchy and the other is closer to totalitarianism. Both will accuse the other of being very fascistic and authoritarian and oppressive, because both kind of focus on things the other doesn't. Progressives are typically a bit more lax on certain social things, with the exception of like gun ownership and freedom of speech, where they've become a bit more totalitarian now. They used to be a bit better, but they're really restrictive on market, where conservatives are a lot more strict on social, and with the exception of guns, and are a lot more laxed on market. So both view each other as being totalitarian, and then of course most libertarians view both as being very authoritarian and totalitarian, but in their own different ways. Anyway, so this has been a bit thing. If you want, comment what you think. If you have any, you know, comparisons, any differences or similarities you'd like to point out that you feel that I missed or want to discuss, definitely feel free to go ahead. It's something that a lot of people seem to miss. I have a lot of times conservatives will try to tell me they're libertarian, as well as a lot of progressives will confuse libertarians and conservatives, and that really bugs me. I understand why, because progressives think anyone to the right of, you know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is conservative, and that anyone, and the conservatives think that pretty much anyone to the right of George W. Bush is conservative, even if You know, they think that libertarians are. They use the term libertarian leanings and stuff like that, and they really don't understand that libertarianism and conservatism don't really agree on a lot. And that conservatism, in a way, is a form, like American conservatism is a form of libertarianism. It's a very, very moderate, like, centrist version that leans to the right. You know what I mean? Centrist, when I mean between anarchism and totalitarianism, and then it leans to the right. Where progressivism is a bit closer to totalitarianism, and then classic liberalism is closer to libertarianism. Um, where a lot of libertarians disagree with conservatives on major issues like same-sex marriage, abortion, um, drugs being legal, prostitution being legal, gambling being legal, a lot of things, and the adjustment of where we put our spending, and just the sheer size and bureaucratic power of the government. So, again, if you like this video, please give it a like. Make sure, like I said, comment what you think. Make sure to subscribe. Check out my other streams that I've done. Like I said, I talked about anarchy. You might like that one. And you have a good day. Thanks for watching. Take care. Remember, use your brain.